Hi everyone. I am now starting a series in which we'll be reading, or I'll be reading, literary criticism and theory. I don't know, I am reading it directly from book. I don't know whether I'll get copyright. So let's try it. Let's do it. If copyright comes, then I'll be reading it by the book, but we'll be making notes together, because what we do is we usually end up going to a YouTube channel or looking at the summary. But I think once we are done with the theory, with the textbook, then I think we won't be needing that again and again. Though it's been a long time since I have kept the book, but now I have picked it up. I hopefully I'll complete it. So, starting with Plato, from 429 to 347 BC, Plato gathered the odds and ends of proto-criticism and articulated them in a coherent manner. It is often said that the history of Western philosophy is a series of footnotes to Plato. So basically, we can say the Western philosophy, it's somewhere related to Plato, or the theories are majorly influenced by Plato. We may substitute Western criticism for Western philosophy, and the remark would still hold good. He was the first to expound a theory of art in general terms, and his views have exerted a strong influence on every generation of thinkers who came after him. Definitely, that would have happened. That must have happened. That after Plato has majorly influenced many theorists, many writers to write more or to think differently. Basically, the concept of theory came from Plato himself. Any decision on the general nature of literature must have begun with Plato, whose views are diverse and even contradictory. For instance, on the one hand, he is opposed to art as an end in itself, and on the other hand, he glorifies and extols the artist and emphasizes his role in human life. So, his own views are both contradictory and diverse. As he sometimes says, the art is the end of the thing. Like, these are the highlighters we can see. This is the end. This is the theory. What we are seeing is beautiful. What the highlighters will do, it's the credit will go to the highlighter. That is what at one point he says. But then the next what he says is who has made the highlighters or who the artist is, he glorifies him or her. Sir Philip Sidney paid him the most extravagant tribute when he said, "Of all philosophers, I have esteemed him most worthy of reverence, and with great reason, since of all philosophers he is the most poetical." According to Philip Sidney, Plato was the most poetical one, and he was very much influenced by him. He was a philosopher and a poet rolled into one. In his dialogue form, one finds the truth and science of philosophy coexisting with the beauty and art of poetry. One of his greatest admirers, Shelley, says that Plato exhibits the rare union of close and subtle logic with the Pythian enthusiasm of poetry. It is not then a paradox that Plato, the most poetic of philosophers, is avowed enemy of poetry. In Book 10 of the famous Republic, as we all know, those who don't know, it's fine. I also did not know at one point. So, the book Republic is written by Plato, and we have got these questions many times in it and in many exams, that who banishes all the poets. from their ideal state, and it is none other than Plato. He exiles poets on two grounds. He banishes the poets on two grounds. First is the first is the metaphysical, and the second ethical. All art. So further he'll explain it. The first one he says on metaphysical ground, and the second is ethical. All art being fiction is untrue and necessary, twists and distorts truth, the attainment of which is the goal for man. This is the conclusion. Sorry, this is the text example that he is taking. So we'll begin from here. Art is an imperfect reflection of the real world. This is what Plato meant. Art is an imperfect reflection of the real world, which in turn is a shadow, a pale reflection of the ideal world. Somewhere we can say it is true. What art basically, whenever we see a work, it's definitely not the original one. The thoughts in itself are first being filtered. Again, we are rethinking and then putting it down. So, for him, it is the third hand distortions of truth. So where were we? Art is an imperfect reflection of the real world, which in turn is the shadow, a pale reflection of the ideal world. Hence, art, an imitation of an imitation, is thrice removed from reality. Arts are third hand distortions of truth. This view goes by the name of the doctrine of ideas or forms. The second objection is on the ground of ethics. So this was the first one. It was metaphysical, and the second he was banishing the poet. The second ground was ethics. So he says the second objection is on the ground of ethics. Plato regarded the study of morals as basic and wanted all arts to be guided by moral principles. Imitative art has a corrupting influence on man, who should be governed by real and not passion. A philosopher is the moral custodian of the welfare of his people. He has a right to stand in opposition to any form of artistic imitation that deviates from the norms of reason. Alright, he says, basically, what is he saying is a philosopher, according to him, is the moral custodian. So, anywhere, if a philosopher sees something wrong, he must stand for it. He must say that the theory is deviating from the actual reason. Hence, he condemns poetic imitation on the ground that it fed and watered the passions instead of drying them up, and let them rule instead of ruling them as they ought to be ruled, with a view to the happiness and virtue of mankind. He advocates strict censorship and exhorts poets to inculcate in people the moral virtues of forbearance, tolerance, and rectitude. Plato favors the narrative form more than the imitative, that is dramatic form of the latter represents evil directly for Aristotle. So I think majorly the philosophies of Plato and Aristotle are contradictory. For Aristotle, all forms of narration are imitative, and Plato's wish that virtue should be rewarded and vice punished would render Aristotle's notion of the tragedy not viable. In Book 5 of Republic, Plato has a positive view of art insofar as it contributes to the spiritual growth of people. Imitation, which performs a function, has a principal place in his view. truth is the end in such imitation and not pleasure. So, this is all about Plato. There are two more stanzas left. So, basically, what we get from it is, which I can take out, is Plato, he has banished the poet. He is majorly focusing on ethics, the morals, and he's banishing because of the metaphysical thing. And the other point is he has written Republic, and in book 10 he is banishing them, and he has majorly influenced the Western philosophers. So yes, this is for the very first time I'm reading this text, and further now the next is about Aristotle. About Aristotle's too lengthy, so I think that will be in 2-3 classes. So yes, thank you. If you feel that it will be helpful for you as well, because I'm also just reading, I also get something or the other, because many times we don't relate this to the lectures, to the theory we see, but once we'll go through it, then it will all be relatable. So yeah, thank you.